Hello and welcome back. Today we'll be discussing Max Weber, a German sociologist, philosopher, and political economist who is best known for his work on the theory of social action and his concept of the ideal type. While Weber did not necessarily see himself as a sociologist, he is recognized today as one of the founding fathers of sociology, along with Karl Marx, Emile Durkheim, and increasingly, W.E.B. Du Bois. Weber's key contributions to social theory might be considered as follows. First, he introduced a new theory of social action, which foregrounded a consideration of the meaning of actions and paved the way for interpretive sociology. Second, he introduced various new typologies, concepts, and categories that can be used to simplify the task of analytically engaging with and talking about social phenomena. Weber's novel approach to sociology is best exemplified in his analysis of bureaucracy and the rise of early capitalism. But enough about that for now. Who was Max Weber? Weber was born on April 21st, 1864 in Prussia, now known as Germany, as the newest member of a wealthy and influential family. The Age of Enlightenment had passed, and modernity was now upon Europe. The middle of the century was dominated by the Industrial Revolution, which drastically changed the economic and social fabric of European society, creating a new industrial and urban proletariat while also ushering in unprecedented technological advancements and wealth. By the end of the century, Europe was a continent of industrialized nations, with monarchies giving way to more democratic forms of government and increasingly complex international relations. Weber was born into a family of privilege. Max Weber Sr. was a successful lawyer and politician, while his mother, Helene Weber, was a devout Calvinist with a strong moral and ethical focus. Weber studied law, history, economics, and philosophy at various German universities. He is said to have spent his early days in university drinking beer and fencing, but eventually came to apply himself more rigorously to his coursework. After completing his doctorate in law in 1889 and his habilitation thesis in economic history in 1891, Weber embarked on an academic career as a lecturer at Friedrich Wilhelm University. In 1893, Weber married his distant cousin, Marine Schnicker, who would later become a feminist activist and author. Unfortunately, Weber's life was significantly disrupted by mental health issues. He suffered a nervous breakdown in 1897 following the death of his father, which resulted in severe depression, anxiety, and bouts of insomnia, which forced him to withdraw from his teaching duties. Things got so bad for Weber that he spent the summer and autumn of 1900 in a sanitarium. Weber eventually returned to work, but would continue to struggle with his mental health throughout his life. In 1904, after several years of academic inactivity, Weber published The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, which is perhaps his most acclaimed work today. Weber resumed teaching in 1918 and soon became a key figure in the intellectual life of post-World War I Germany. Weber passed away from pneumonia in Munich on June 14, 1920. But by then, his ideas had already left an indelible mark on the social sciences. Max Weber's theory of social action is one of his major contributions to sociology. Weber emphasized that all social actions are subjective, meaning they depend on the individual's interpretation of the situation, and these actions become social actions when they are oriented towards the behaviors of others. To put it another way, when individuals perform actions while considering the potential reactions or anticipations of other people, then they are executing social actions. This approach has laid the foundation for interpretive sociology, which aims to understand the meanings individuals assign to their actions. Weber famously classified his social action into 4 types. The first is instrumentally rational action, where individuals undertake actions after careful consideration of the most efficient means to achieve their goal. Secondly, there is value rational action, which is motivated by a conscious belief in the inherent value of the action, irrespective of its outcome. Thirdly, traditional action is motivated by one's socialization, and is carried out without much self-reflexive thought. Lastly, effectual action is guided primarily by the emotional state of the individual, rather than by rationality or tradition. It's important to remember here that Weber's 4 types of social action are not mutually exclusive categories. In fact, in real-life situations, we should expect them to overlap and coexist. For example, a person might decide to attend college, an instrumentally rational action aimed at a future career. But their choice of attending a particular college might be influenced by their family tradition. The same person might also be motivated to study a less lucrative subject due to their passion or interest in it. And they might react emotionally to stress during exams, leading to any number of regrettable effectual actions. Weber's typology of social action is more of a heuristic device, a methodological framework which analysts can use to understand, talk about, and categorize the complexities of human behavior. These are not rigid categories into which all actions must neatly fit. One of the most popular and long-lasting contributions Weber has made to the development of social theory is his concept of ideal types. Weber's ideal types are not ideal in the sense that they are perfect or desirable, but they are ideal as in conceptual or theoretical. These ideal types are abstract concepts, developed by researchers to understand, analyze, and compare specific social phenomena. In other words, an ideal type is a bit like an imaginary blueprint, or model, that represents the core characteristics of a particular social reality, whether that be a process, a relationship, an institution, or a type of behavior. This is quite similar to the logic of statistical modeling. Weber's concept of bureaucracy as an ideal type does not depict any particular real-world organization or administration. Instead, it emphasizes characteristics that are common to all bureaucracies, such as hierarchy, division of labor, and formal rules, creating a model against which real-world bureaucracies can be studied and compared. Weber idealized bureaucracy as a structure characterized by hierarchical organization, written rules, task specialization, impersonality, and recruitment based on qualification. This is the ideal bureaucracy which can be used for comparison against real cases. In this way, Weber's ideal type of bureaucracy serves as a conceptual tool to understand the key features of real bureaucratic organizations, even though these actual organizations may not perfectly embody the idealized characteristics. Max Weber was deeply suspicious of bureaucracy, like many of us, as well as other features of modernity. He coined the metaphor of an iron cage to refer to a pessimistic view of modern society, characterized by the growing rationalization and bureaucratization of social life. Weber observed that Western societies in particular were becoming increasingly oriented towards efficiency, predictability, calculability, and control. He was concerned that this trend towards rationalization would lead to what he called a disenchantment of the world, where traditional values, beliefs, and emotions would be replaced by calculation and efficiency as the main guiding principles of human action. In his own words, "No one knows who will live in this cage in the future, or whether at the end of this tremendous development, entirely new profits will arise. or there will be a great rebirth of old ideas and ideals. Or if neither, mechanized petrification, embellished with a sort of convulsive self-importance. We can see hints of a more dialectical view of Weber's disenchantment thesis, whereby the disenchantment and secularization processes open space for re-enchantment with new values and traditions, i.e., new prophets. But we're going to keep things simple in this video, so maybe we'll go more into that in a later video. The iron cage metaphor implies a sense of entrapment or confinement. It suggests that individuals in modern society find themselves trapped within a system that they cannot easily escape. The emphasis on efficiency, standardization, and adherence to rules and regulations takes primacy over the needs and rights of the people. Worst of all, individuals in positions of bureaucratic authority become disconnected from the humanity of those under their care, reducing them to mere objects, numbers, or problems to be solved in the pursuit of organizational goals. In a bureaucracy, no single person is responsible for everything. Responsibility is systematically diffused, creating a situation where no one can be held squarely accountable for organizational neglect. Overall, Weber's concept of the iron cage highlights the tension between the obvious productive benefits of rationalization and bureaucratization and the potential drawbacks in terms of individual freedom, autonomy, and the erosion of meaningful human connections. Now that we've familiarized ourselves with the way that Weber approaches sociological analysis, we'll take a brief look at his renowned work, The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism. In The Protestant Ethic, published in 1905, Weber argues that certain cultural aspects of Protestantism, particularly Calvinism, played a significant role in the emergence of modern capitalism. The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism can be generally summarized as Weber's exploration of the cultural conditions which favored the spread and development of Western capitalism. Weber noticed that early capitalist leaders and entrepreneurs were disproportionately Protestant, and sought to understand why this was. He proposed that the Protestant ethic, particularly the Calvinist doctrine of predestination, led to a form of behavior conducive to capitalistic economic activity. With reference to his ideal type approach, Weber models the key characteristics of what he calls the Protestant ethic, allowing him to compare it to other religious and cultural systems. In his own words, Calvinist believers were psychologically isolated. Their distance from God could only be precariously bridged, and their inner tensions only partially relieved by unstinting, purposeful labor. Central to Weber's methodology is his understanding of social action, as outlined earlier. In the Protestant belief system, the doctrine of predestination held that God had already determined who was to be saved and who was to be damned to burn in hell. Weber argued that, as a response to the immense anxiety caused by this belief, the Calvinists were desperate to find signs in their life that they were among those whom God had chosen to go to heaven. Success in one's work came to be seen as a sign of God's favor, leading Calvinists to live frugally and reinvest surplus profits back into their businesses. This, according to Weber, was essential to the spirit of capitalism. Of course, Weber wasn't saying that Protestantism alone caused the emergence of Western capitalism. Instead, he suggested that it was just one significant elective affinity or contributing factors among others, including the political, economic, and legal changes of the modern period. Weber's argument is not a straightforward cause and effect claim. He argues that, once established, the spirit of capitalism detached from its religious roots and became a force of its own, driving economic behavior even among those who were not religious or Protestant. As said by Weber, where doing one's job cannot be directly linked to the highest spiritual and cultural values, although it may be felt to be more than mere economic coercion. The individual today makes no attempt to find any meaning in it. Where capitalism is at its most unbridled, in the United States, the pursuit of wealth, divested of its metaphysical significance, today tends to be associated with purely elemental passions, which, at times, virtually turn it into a sporting contest. So, in summary, Weber's influence on sociology and social thought is evident in the continued relevance of his theories and concepts. Among the sociological canon, he is probably the most widely referenced today, due in no small part to the abundance of concepts and categories he provided at a time when the scientific study of society was just beginning to emerge and in dire need of a common language. Weber's understanding of social action, the concept of ideal types, his analysis of bureaucracy, the metaphor of the iron cage, and his exploration of the Protestant ethic's relationship with capitalism all provide valuable frameworks for understanding the complexities of modern society. In many ways, Weber's anxiety about the iron cage of bureaucracy and the social shift towards rational actions and efficiency seem more real today than ever before.